It's that time of the day when you and I, we get an update on how far some of these stories that we have been following for you have advanced. In fact, your lunchtime update starts right now. Our reporters are out and about, bringing you the latest on today's top stories. I'm joined by Pule Letshwiti-Jones in Kempton Park, Lethiwe Mduli out in Durban, and Nobesuthu Hejana down in Cape Town. Pule, let me come to you. Good afternoon. Leaders of opposition parties are attending the two-day Moonshot Pact convention in Kempton Park. I mean, at least 7 parties are discussing the creation of alliance to unseat the ANC in next year's elections. They include the DA, IFP, FF+, and Action SA. What's the latest?
Well, yes, definitely, William. The latest is that the parties are currently in a plenary session where they are discussing some of the terms and conditions of the pledge which they will be signing, which aims to hold the parties to account who will be joining the National Multi-Party Convention. We were also told by Professor William Gumede, who is a well-renowned policymaker, economics and mediator, that the parties may have to change their names. Of course, Mr. Gumede there is an independent chairperson in this whole session currently taking place. But of course, there's been quite a lot of issues around whether the DA has been in talks with the ANC to form a super coalition government after the 2024 national elections. Action SA and, of course, United Independent Movement have raised concerns around this issue as well. The Moonshot Pact has been discussed since earlier this year, spearheaded by the DA as well, John Steenhuisen, federal leader of his party. But of course, what was also quite interesting are his remarks during the DA Gauteng conference of the DA, where he said that the movement or the pact was not primarily focusing on being anti-ANC, but being an alternative to voters as well. And he's denied the fact that they are in talks with the ANC to try and form a coalition. What I can tell you right now, William, is that at 1:15 we'll be getting an update from what has come out of those plenary sessions from, of course, the independent chairperson in this whole session overseeing what is happening, Mr. William Gumede. But let's just take a listen to what Mr. Steenhuisen had to say earlier on when we spoke to him.
There's no discussions with the ANC, nor have there been discussions with the ANC about a grand coalition. The only negotiations that the Democratic Alliance has been involved in are the ones that have revolved around forming a multi-party pact. If I wanted a grand coalition with the ANC, I'd be at Lutuli House today. Instead, I'm at Emperor's Palace with 7 other parties, planning about how we can unseat the ANC and put in power an alternative. That is our commitment to the people of South Africa. It's not healthy in a democracy to have a party that's in power for 30 years. There needs to be a change in power. I think it'll do the ANC some good to spend some time in the opposition benches. And my focus from now until the next election is getting this multi-party pact over the line with a majority so that we can usher in a new era of hope and prosperity for the country.
Now that brings us to 5 minutes after 1. It's the lunchtime update. We bring in Lethiwe, who's out in Durban now, and ask, so what are the union members complaining about? And have they tried, Lethiwe, to ask the government to intervene?
Well, it's a very concerning story here in Umkhanyakude, in the northern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. We're at the Bethesda Hospital, where the Public Servants Association was picketing outside the hospital, calling for an improvement on the water provision at the hospital. The hospital, we do understand, has been suffering with a water issue for over 5 years, and this has gone basically unfixed by the provincial health departments and also the government for this long, which means that a lot of patients at the hospital are impacted when there's no water. Now, Umkhanyakude district is an area that has been suffering with water shortages for a really, really long time. The community here is saying that they haven't had water for a number of years, but it's very concerning when a health facility does not have water, We do understand that the municipality has taken some sort of action when trying to address this issue. They are providing the hospital with one water tanker, and we also do understand that the Provincial Department of Health has also tried to come in and try and assist with providing more water tankers. But what the unions are saying is that these are short-term solutions. A long-term solution is needed. We did speak to the mayor of Mkhanyakude district a bit earlier on, and he did indicate that they have brought in the National Water Department to try and assist so that boreholes can be erected at this place, and also they can try and have more water pump stations installed so that the hospital does not suffer or continue to suffer. But what is very concerning is that this issue has been ongoing for years, and we do understand from the staff that we've spoken to that when there's no water inside the hospital, they have to stop working as well, meaning that the surgeries that are scheduled for the day are interrupted. Patients are then turned home. And when speaking to the residents, they are saying that this is the only hospital that they can come to in this area. The other one that they can go to is all the way in Richards Bay, which is about 2 hours away from where we are, or they have to travel to Umanguzi, which is also about 2 or 3 hours away from where we are. So this is the only hospital that is able to service this area, and this issue with the water crisis has not been solved rather for about 5 years. In speaking to the Public Association or the Public Servants Association earlier on about some of the interventions and the talks that they've had with the health department, they are very concerned with the silence that they are getting from government in terms of fixing this issue. But this is what they had to say.
We are here today because our members that are working at Bethesda, different departments like social development, SASA, that are affected by the water disconnection under Mkhanyakude district. We've came here to call for the restorations of water. We've called here for the interventions of Mkhanyakude. We've came here to call all the MEC to put Plan B to ensure that they increase the numbers of water tank. We have called to ensure that the plant are being maintained, and we are happy that the Prima is able to send the DTG, because as PSA we believe our members cannot work under this condition. It is for these reasons that we came to here, because you cannot have an hospital that operates on 6,000 litre tank. So we are saying this must be increased. You cannot have department with no water. That's why we are here. This issue must be addressed. We call upon the National Minister, Minister Senzo Mkhuni, to visit this area of Mkhanyakude, provide all the support.
Of course, this water story is part of our focus here on eNCA. Lethiwe bringing us all those details out in Durban. Let's go to Cape Town now, where we find Nobesuthu. CPUT NSFAS funded students left in limbo. They've been kicked out of private student residences because of unpaid accommodation fees, and some universities University of Western Cape students were having a peaceful march about all their funding issues. Nobesuthu, what can you tell us?
All right, William, I was struggling to hear you there for a minute, but what we do understand about this march by the SRCs across the province, it's after they've led a protest march where SRCs across the country took to the streets, heading to the NSFAS offices here in Cape Town, where they wanted to discuss, or rather to demand answers regarding the new system that NSFAS is using now when it comes to the paying of accommodation, especially for the 60 credits, for students that are accredited for 60 credit courses, as well as other issues surrounding the payment methods by NSFAS. But I'm joined by the UWC SRC President, Mandla Notyawa, just to tell us about today's march. Mandla, what is happening today? Because we're seeing SRCs in the province are heading to Parliament?
No, thank you very much. I think we have clearly captured some of the issues why we're here. Direct payment, 60 credit policy, appeals of students that have not yet been responded to, inconsistency in funding, where students are funded and they are not funded. So we've been on this situation for almost a year, trying to engage with NSFAS, hoping for NSFAS to come forward and engage us on these issues. They have not engaged us on these issues. They have clearly indicated that we marched to NSFAS to demand a response insofar as these issues are concerned. They never responded to us. They released a press briefing shaming student leaders, saying that we want to be involved in tender systems and all of that, of which that's not their intention, trying to paint us as people who are so focused on what is going to be the cases, whereas that's not the case. That's not what is on the news currently. COO is going to be suspended. So those are some of the issues. Went to DHET, went to union buildings. We're hoping for Parliament now to enforce them, these particular issues.
And who are you hoping to speak to in Parliament, where you'll be handing over a memorandum?
We are hoping to go to the chairperson of the portfolio committee. She's a former student leader. We hope that she's going to receive us with warm hands. We're only seeking to engage the executive. We're only seeking to engage the Department of Higher Education. We've wrote a letter to them. They have never responded to. We have never been responded to. So we hope that the portfolio committee can be able to hold the executive accountable to ensure the executive engages with SRCs, engaging SAWUS, engaging SASCO, is not engaging with the people that are in charge of institutions of higher learning.
Thank you very much. That was Mandla Nokyawa, the SRC president from UWC. At the back of that, there are hundreds of students from CPUT that are currently being evicted in Cape Town, and obviously the institution saying that the landlord of those buildings, they submitted the requirements late, or the documents for them to be accredited by the institution, and now the institution saying that the agreements between the students and the landlord, it's something that the institution cannot be involved in, but they will support the students in any other ways to ensure that no students are homeless.
CPUT, Nobesuthu, thank you so much. That's the eNCA reporters Pule Letshwiti-Jones, Lethiwe Mduli and Nobesuthu Hejana live on this lunchtime update, bringing you all the latest with all the stories that are developing, and some breaking and some developing as well.